This is what Stand Up to Racism up and down this country today are doing to build solidarity. Because the great thing to remember is we are the many, they are the few. And we stand together until we have eradicated the foul pestilence of racism and fascism from not only Britain but across the world.
Throughout the whole of the pandemic, we've heard about how refugees have helped in the NHS, in care homes, they're surgeons, they save so many lives, whether there's a pandemic or no pandemic. And yet we can still look at them on the other side of the channel and pretend that we don't need those people in our country when we know full well that they are holding the NHS together.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Refugees are welcome here.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Refugees are welcome here.
Tories out!
Refugees in.
Tories out!
Refugees in.
The world today has 37 million refugees, all of which are as a result of the United States and the wars they have visited to 7 or 8 countries. And therefore our message today is Black Lives Matter is not a moment, it is a movement. This is what today shows.
These refugees, they've been forced to leave their countries because of war, because of poverty, because of torture by dictatorship, and they are coming to countries like the UK to live in peace and to save their own life and their own families' lives.
People who haven't even arrived in this country are not responsible for the state that the country is in. And the only people that are to blame are people who have been running this country for years and who've let it get to the point it is at, and who are saying that we don't need asylum seekers, we don't need refugees, who come in and help. So many participate in such important jobs to hold society together. How can we stand here and say they're not needed? And the country is a shambles, and yet we're blaming people who haven't even made it here yet.
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Enough of the chatter!
Black Lives Matter!
My name is Valerie Bossman-Quarshie, and I'm here today with Islington Stand Up to Racism, Care for Calais refugees, and many other comrades.
Say it loud, say it clear!
Refugees are welcome here!
To say, Black Lives Matter, Refugees' Lives Matter, Migrants' Lives Matter. The hostile environment in the UK is still very pertinent. It is still happening. There's an anti-black sentiment, an anti-refugee and migrant sentiment, that they are not welcome here. But we know there's a history where many of us have not learned in school of how important they are and they contribute to our society.
Refugees in!
Tories out!
The blatant hypocrisy of this Tory government that won't allow 4,000 refugee children into this country, but they're quite happy to spend billions on arms for Saudi Arabia to murder Yemeni children every day in our name. The same government that says it's going to turn the gunboats of a Royal Navy onto the most desperate people in the world, fleeing poverty and persecution. That is an outrage. They are trying to get us to look at something else, such as the Dover invasion. But there have been some other invasions in recent times, haven't there? The Iraq invasion, 1 million dead. Who in the West took responsibility? Let unleash the destruction of Iraq, the destruction of Syria, the soon possible destruction of Lebanon. And for all of that, we blame the West. We blame Bush. We blame Blair. We blame Cameron. We blame Boris Johnson. And we blame all of the rich and the powerful, the Trumps, who stand by and allow refugees to die in the Mediterranean Sea deliberately, but allow thousands of people to live in poverty and squalor in Lesbos, in the European Union, the land of liberty. Another lie, the same lies that invented slavery and racism in the first place.
I'm proud to be an active member of Stand Up to Racism. And I thank the National Stand Up to Racism for what they're doing today. I was privileged to join many of the senior stand-up to racism activists early this morning at Downing Street. Although they were not very cooperative, we didn't have the opportunity to have the bus standing like this. So I thank the mosque here in particular. I thank Mohammed Kosba. This is a man that I've known for over a decade. He's been a welcoming and somebody in the community that brings people together.
Some of them lost their children. They saw their children died in front of them. The international community failed them to stop the war, whether it is in Africa, in South America, in Asia, in the Middle East. They failed them, and now we don't want to take responsibility. They will add diversity and they will add values to our communities, to our countries, and therefore here at Finsbury Park Mosque and in Islington we welcome all refugees.
To be quite honest, Mohammed, you set an example of what human solidarity is really about. Every time you are under the cosh, we are under the cosh, refugees are under the cosh, we can always rely on you, Mohammed, your committee and the mosque. So all power to your elbow, and thank you so much for what you have done.
For example, I met a guy in Calais when I was there last October, November, and we got on really well. He was a really nice guy. He was from Iran. He'd been persecuted and had to leave and had come to Europe, and he was trying to get to the UK, and I saw him there for ages, for weeks and weeks, and then he disappeared. And what had happened is he'd made it to the UK, but they discovered that he had his fingerprints taken in Germany, so he was then taken back to Germany, deported back to Germany. And the problem is that the reason he had his fingerprints taken there is because he tried to claim asylum there, and it took 4 years for him to find out that he wasn't going to get it. So then he tried to get to the UK, but if he's just deported back to Germany each time, he's never going to have somewhere he can stay. If having that asylum claim refused means that he can't claim asylum anywhere else in Europe, then he's got absolutely no options, because he can't go back to Iran and he can't stay in Europe. And he tells me all the time the toll it's taking on his mental health.
What do we do about this government? This government are things, people who are running away from persecutions, who are running away from conflict, that they think they need to turn them away. Where is our humanity?
And the people that are doing the suffering are black and white together, Muslim and non-Muslim together, gay and straight together. So there's a lesson in that. Let's actually get together. Let's reform all those fingers into a mighty fist and smash the racists and the fascists and the system that gives them life.
Our great driver Norbert is now going to be departing for East London, where there is a similar reception awaiting him and the van at East London Mosque.
I just think it's so important to keep fighting this fight, and to not just be overwhelmed by other politics that are going on, and COVID-19 and Brexit and so on, when there's a fight that needs to be fought now. And I just think we have to keep things like the fire in Moria or the situation across the Channel in the headlines, not just about the boats that are making it here, but the conditions that people are having to endure before they come to the UK.